to the 86th Ask the Coach. Oh my goodness, 125 different coaches, 62% women, and I'm glad to say, I'm sorry, not sorry, that we've got an all-female cast again today. I'm Angela Cripps, the MD of the Recruiting Gym. I'll get the coaches to introduce themselves in a second. If you've not been with us before, well, where have you been? Because this is number 86. We've been going for 3-4 years. But this is your opportunity to ask questions of people that know what they're talking about, all experienced within the recruitment industry. We ask the coaches to come along with a question they're getting asked all the time at the moment. What's current, what's happening, what people are asking them. And then we curate other questions from our meetings, from the Rec Fest yesterday, from lots of different areas over the last 2 weeks. So we've got 6 already, but if you wanted to add a question, feel free to do that. In Crowdcast here, you can add it in and click the question button, and you're able to do that. I'm just going to check that we are gone live on LinkedIn as well. Can't see that it has, so we'll come back to that one. Hopefully it'll be going. Oh no, you can see us now. We're all good. Lovely. Wonderful. So let's hear from the coaches. Grainne, I'm coming to you first. If you could tell people who you are.
Yeah, I'm Grainne Martin. I'm MD of Lander, and that is a recruitment training company, but I come from a background of IT contracts training and development of staff.
And I think you are the most experienced out of all of us, aren't you? I think you're a year or two more than me. How long have you been in recruitment?
1986. So I started in London 1986 for 10 years in London at high-end IT contract training. Then I set up in Ireland, and I work between Ireland, the UK, English-speaking Europe, and Asia Pacific. With Angela, in fact, in Asia Pacific.
I was just about to say, we'll drop that in a little bit later. Grainne's off to Singapore in a few weeks' time. And Lander was where I started in training. Blue Arrow is where I started in training coaching, but external to that, spent some time, 10 years at Lander Associates as well. So, yeah, we go back a long way. Lovely to have you, Grainne.
Sure do, yeah.
Ali, let's come to you.
Thanks, Angela. Hello, everyone. Lovely to be here. I'm Ali Braid, the recruitment trainer. So I've run my training consultancy for, it would be 8 years this September. Been in the industry 20 years, started in London doing public sector finance. And yeah, still love the ups and downs.
We're getting a little bit of echo. I'm not sure who it is. Grainne, would you mind just muting for a second and let's see what happens when Helen talks? And if it's still there, then Ali, you'll need to mute. Oh, you have already. Brilliant. Professional at this. Love it. Okay. So yes, Ali, I can't believe you got in with the term the recruitment trainer. I mean, that is the best branding there is, isn't it?
I know. That was. I don't know how I got it, to be honest. Yeah. But yeah, I was like, no one's got this right.
I get it. We all missed a trick there, definitely. Helen, please introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, I'm Helen Plumridge. My business is Hyper Consulting. I've actually been in recruitment for 22 years. I started at Blue Arrow as well. I grew an all-female team in my last recruitment business to an all team of 7. We had private equity backing as well. Exited that business in September last year, and then I started Hyper Consulting, which is the home for female recruitment founders. So I'm guiding and providing strategy and operational support to female founders, solopreneurs up to sort of teams of sub 5. Effectively.
Brilliant. Fantastic. So I hadn't looked that far back. Apologies. So you must have started what, 2002?
2002.
And I left in 2003. So I might have even trained you in that first year.
Do you know, I just can't remember. I can't remember the end.
No, we'll have to have a look back. We'll have a dig another time. Yeah, find it from those. Fantastic. Right, we're cracking on. We've got 6 great questions. I can see there's going to be a lot of debate with regards to this. So, Ali, I'm coming to you first. So if you want to pick up from there. So the question is, how do I motivate my team when the desks are quiet? And we know a lot of people are in this situation at the moment.
Yeah, totally. And I think, it can just feel really hard, can't it? And I'm getting a lot of people saying this to me, and I'm sure, you are all are as well. Sorry. So I think actually it's making sure we are still doing stuff, you know, and we're not just sort of sitting back and thinking that we've got to wait for things to happen to us. And actually, I've always thought that the quiet times, whether it's, you know, Christmas and summer holidays, is a great time actually to just get your ducks in order, isn't it? You know, so get organised, think about the rest of the year, look at your marketing collateral, look at your target clients, and really just work smart. You know, what can we improve? What do we need to change? Let's look at our processes. Let's look at our target clients, for example. You know, have they maybe changed because of the way the year's gone so far? Do we have candidates that we want to relive? You know, and I think it's almost setting those sort of mini projects and really being proactive, because actually I think that takes away a lot of the stress, because your teams and potentially, you know, you all as well can leave home or finish the working day and go, yeah, do you know what, I've ticked that off, and it's really important, isn't it, to feel like you've achieved something. Yes, you know, it is quieter, we're going into that holiday period, like we were saying, you know, summer holidays have started, you know, for some schools. So we are getting again into that time of people not being available. So I think making sure you're as organised as you can be, because we know it'll change, and we know come September, October, all those clients will be hiring again. Summer holidays will sadly be a distant memory, you know, and it will kick off again. So that would be my first suggestion. And I think as well, my second on this, and I'd be keen actually as well to hear from you three on this, but actually getting people to focus on activity. So not putting lots of weight on outcomes, because we know those outcomes might take longer to achieve because of all those reasons I've just said. So actually getting people to focus on their activity, the right activity. Are they speaking to those A-star candidates, for example? Are they speaking to their top 5 clients, their top 10 target clients? You know, and again, I think just being really smart and specific with what they're doing, and actually move away from, I know it's difficult, but moving away from, you know, that placement this week or next week, but really drilling down into activities. And is it the right activity? Of course, you know, are we doing the right stuff for the outcomes we know will come, but they might take a little bit longer. And then the other point I was thinking on this is, you know, have interesting conversations, right? There's a lot going on in the world. You know, we've got, especially, you know, we've got the football, we've got, you know, it's Wimbledon, you know. Don't talk about stuff, obviously, if you're not interested. Don't pretend, because that's not a good idea. But, you know, there are things that are happening that actually, you know, maybe put a bit of lightness into your conversations with people and a bit of the human side, because I see that a lot when people get really bogged down in, I've got to talk about recruitment, you know, but there isn't any, you know, and I know we're going to talk more about that later, but actually, you know, let's bring the fun, let's bring the lightness, you know, we deal with people every day, you know, let's be human about it, because I think as well, that kind of brings you out of your self, really, doesn't it? You know, let's have just interesting conversations with people, and in another 4 months time, that will lead to something.
Well, that's the thing. One call is not going to get you a client. So you have to have that plan. And I think it's still around the average of 6 contacts before you're likely to get anywhere with a new one. So, yeah, do the work now that will pay off in a couple of months. And like you say, celebrate the mini wins, all the activities that you're doing. You're ticking. I love that. And then it will pay dividends later. So get yourself organised. Don't wait for the business. Yeah, get out there and do that. Grainne, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, I used to do with my team is when you were going through the, you know, a kind of, they weren't so busy, is do an aim high week. So go to the team and say, what would as a whole team for this week? Each individual team member think for their aim high week, what should we do? And it's about everybody deciding, I'm going to send out an extra 3 CVs a day, I'm going to do another 3 interviews, or whatever it is. But activity-based group, like sort of mini internal group competitions, and then Friday evaluate it. That was
yeah.
Just to get that energy back in it as well, isn't it? Because like
energy
you say,
into
when
the
it's
room.
quiet, we thrive off the energy and the reactive and everything going, because everyone always says recruitment's a reactive job, but there's so much proactivity that needs to be in there. So if we can actually switch it the other way, then we're going to be positive on there as well. When you were talking about those interesting conversations, I'm just going to put our link to our podcast in there as well, because Hiring Happenings with a Pestle twist. The Pestle is all about what's going on, well, in the UK for the first 6 months, but it's what's going on in the world for the next 6 months. So those interesting conversations make it a bit different. Wonderful. Thank you, ladies. That's amazing. Let's click that one off, and we will focus Helen. So Helen, I'm coming to you next. So the next one is, when is the right time to hire in my agency? And should it be a biller, a 180, a 120, a 240? It could be, or someone else.
The golden question. So, when is the right time to hire? And I guess we're talking about the smaller recruitment companies, and or, we are going through a bit more of a challenging time at the moment. But my advice is to have a 6-month contingency fund in the bank for that new person. They may not bill for 3 months, and you may not get paid for another 3 months potentially. So having that kind of full contingency behind you, especially if you're a smaller business, if it's just you, then this is a big deal. And actually having that 6 months consistent revenue, so that that's also going to support that new person coming in as well. So that would be my advice. Who should you hire? This is, again, how long is a piece of string to a certain extent, because it does depend on you and the size of your business. But one of my best hires in my last business was someone called Paula. She was an ex-recruiter and an ex-account manager as well, and she became my executive delivery consultant. So I was managing a team of 6. I was running the business as well, and I was billing, so not enough hours in the day. So I needed to free myself up. So she effectively was my yin to my yang. I was the hunter, she was the gatherer, and I would obviously win the role. She would then do a lot of the resourcing, the interviewing, and we'd co-select the sort of shortlist. This was mainly to do with senior hiring, by the way. But the same year she joined, we actually doubled our revenues on my division. So, phenomenal investment from that perspective. So if you're a great biller, hire someone like Paula, or even build a resourcing team and or a VA around you as well. I've seen some people that are hitting the million pound mark on their own because they've got those kind of people around them. If you're kind of more of a fairly consistent biller and you're looking for your first hire, just get another really good biller. And then you kind of want that small team of billers, or someone that's better than you effectively. So yeah,
that's hard for people though, isn't it? To recruit someone that is better than you. The ego kicks in, doesn't it?
Yeah, it can do, but it can also elevate who else you then hire, because they're looking, because I've built quite a small team, everyone's looking at each other to get that kind of bounce off. So if you've got a good couple of billers, including yourself, then you're only going to create that momentum in the business. So you should get over your ego, really. You should get over
it's really important. It's not easy. Grainne, what would you like to add to that?
Yeah, I like to add to it that always be on the lookout for a great person. And when you see a great person, whether you need them or not, hire them. And I do think hiring as a salesperson, you always want to be on the top. But as a manager and owner of the business, you want to be surrounded by people who are actually better than you are. So I would look to who you need and who can work well with you. And as you say, if you've got a background team of resourcers and coming up the 180 into the 360, for me that was a very good model. but always be looking out and never hire in desperation. Always hire because you know, you feel absolutely this is the one. It's a bit like choosing a painting to hang on your wall. If you go into an art gallery to buy a painting, what's the painting you're thinking about, a week after you've seen it? That's the one you want on your wall, not the one that you think, I need something to start on Monday. So I'd be very careful about my hiring, especially small agency.
That hit homes. There's so many times I've bought something because I want to get, and I'm thinking painting when you said that, and therefore you go in, or clothes, and you're like, I need something. Well, okay, that will do. That contrast effect, it's better than all the rest, but actually it's not really what I need. So that's such good advice for life.
And when you're hiring, it's never it'll do, ever. It's never it'll do. If you're hiring, it's with certainty, I'm hiring and this is the best person.
Yeah, and I do love the bring them in and start with the resourcing, and then get them quickly talking to clients around the referencing and things like that. So they're calling companies, they're not going to get a barrier out, oh, I've got to call a client now. But yeah, develop them all the way through and do it layer after layer. So maybe start with a 120, then the 180, then the 240, and yeah, move them through. I think for me, that's the most grounding you can give someone, so they really understand it by the time they get to the full part. Bringing people in as 360s, it's really tough. It's a little bit hit or miss, depending on your interview and your onboarding. So obviously, we'll stick our onboarding course in there as well, so we can make sure that people are getting a good 6 months grounding so they know what they're doing. Lovely. Right, Grainne, I'm going to keep you on there because you're going to be answering the third question. So okay, we've got them in, we've got a new person, but yeah, how to get the right person for BD, and then how to get the correct contact number and details as well. So we always get asked this question, don't we? Oh, you're on mute still. We knew we'd have to say it at some point today.
Yeah. I think it's because people go around BD in the completely wrong way. People do BD because they want to bring up somebody and get a job on straight away. And that's obviously the wrong way around. The way you find out the right person is, in recruitment, we're in a position where we can trade names. Everybody we're dealing with, candidates we're dealing with, contractors we're dealing with, temps we're dealing with, no companies better than we do. They know from the inside out, and we're looking at companies from the outside in, if you like. So if you use your candidate and your candidate network to find out, tell them who you're dealing with and ask them, I'm dealing with Angela Cripps. If you were me, who would you call in this company? Oh, well, actually, you get the name from them. But so you trade names and then you ask for information. So you trade on who you know, because 9 times out of 10, if you ask a candidate, who should I call in recruiting, Jim? They're going to say Angela Cripps. But you have that name, so it's no good to you. You need to present the name and ask for an alternative, and people will do that. They might say, no, the only show in town is Angela Cripps, which is fine. But if you trade names, you're more likely to get a different name. And when you get the name, you ask for the number. We are now doing a lot of remote working. That's how you do it. But don't go in trying to go in through info at, or trying to pretend you're something you're not. Use your candidate database to get right names for business development. It would be my advice.
Yeah, I mean, just expanding on that, don't try and go in and be something that you're not, because unfortunately, as an industry, we have got that type of label, and we've always had it, and that going through the back door, saying something that's not right to get through to, I've always had an issue with that. So tell me your thoughts on
also
it.
Pick up the phone. Everybody tries to do a couple of emails before they actually pick up the phone. So they're actually flagging, I don't think you want to speak to me, rather than just go for it. But have something to say when you're on the phone. Have your call objective.
Yeah, you need to plan it. You need to structure it. You need to know what you're doing. Ali, what would you like to add?
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you on that. And I think even now, I see a lot of people trying to wing it. And I think it's a real shame, because we all know how hard it is to get hold of people on the phone. So actually, when you do, let's really make the most of it. So absolutely, like you just said there, have your objectives ready, know what your top line objective is going to be, and make sure you've asked for that at some point, if not throughout the call, but in your close, you know, gain some kind of commitment, so you're moving that call forward. And absolutely just make the most of it, because you might not get to speak to them for another few months. And you know, there's no shame in being prepared, and I see this quite a lot, that people think they should just be able to do it off the top of their heads, you know. And we've all been doing this a long time, you know. I say to people, I still write down sometimes, you know, what I want to ask, and my key objectives, because they're there, you know, they're front of mind. It isn't cheating. You know, you're allowed to be ready.
And I would even, if they've ever got stuck on a call, because we all go blank, we all go, oh God, where am I going now? And I would use those notes. So I would have questions planned out, and I would say to them, bear with me, because I put some questions down that I wanted to ask you before I got on the call. Let me just check. Oh, yeah, we've covered that. Oh, haven't asked this one. So now it doesn't matter if it's relevant to what we've just been talking about or not. I can go off on a totally different angle. I've let them know, I've planned, I've thought about it, I was interested in your company. It's a real positive for me. It's not cheating, is it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the other thing. We forget the perception that they're going to have. So the fact that you are so prepared, you know what you want, you are ready to present that to that person. And even if they don't sound like that they're impressed, they will be. You know, that they will remember you, won't they? Because of all that great work you've done before you picked up the phone. I've done a few little videos, Angela, on this, which are going live actually next week. So I don't have a link yet.
But when you do, come back here and stick it in, and
I'll stick it in. Yeah. And again, it's from that planning and structure side. And then, like we're saying, just go for it. Go for it.
Yeah. And that picking up the phone, I'm sure we're all advocates of that. And whereas years ago, you'd get you're the 10th person to call today. What we're getting now is, I don't get calls. You're like, yes, brilliant.
No one's rang me all week. Yeah,
exactly. So let's take advantage. Now it will go back the other way if we're all pushing it and everyone's realizing it actually works better for them. But get in there now while it's still in that scenario, because that's really, you might as well give it a go. But talking to people is so much better than an email. Right. Okay. Let's get yes, we're back to question 4. So Ali, I'm going to leave you on. We're halfway through. We're halfway through the time. Look at that, ladies. Perfect timing so far. It'll probably go all over the place in the second half, but we'll see. This is also our chance, halfway point, to say thank you to Job Adder, our sponsors, who make this possible for us to do Ask the Coach and to run 86 sessions for people. If you're in Crowdcast, the link is there to the course itself with all 86 sessions. So times that by 6. My maths isn't that good today. I went to Breakfast yesterday. So it's going to be a lot. What's that? It's going to be like 480-ish, 500 questions and answers that you've got from over 125 coaches. So do click on there and go and have a look. There's enough in there to keep you going, to get you organised while it is quiet, if it's quiet for you. Right. Question 4 then. How can we support young leaders in our industry so they don't leave? Because we know it's such a tough job. We don't want them going elsewhere, please.
Yeah. And I think for me, when I was thinking about this one, Angela, I think a lot of what doesn't happen and what I observe is actually suddenly their development just disappears. So, they get promoted, they've got, they've got a team, they've got, resources, like you were saying, Helen, and they are great, they're really talented. And then suddenly there is no development opportunities, and they are left to it. And I think the reason for that is because quite often their leaders don't want them to feel like they're being micromanaged, or don't want them to feel like, you don't think I know what I'm doing. So actually they back off, but they back off too much. And then actually what tends to happen after that is they start to struggle. And that might be for a variety of reasons. And that struggle then becomes more serious. And then the buy-in starts to drop from their team, because the team can see that they're struggling and they don't quite know what's going on. So actually, when I think people are promoted or about to be promoted, there's so many options. You've got your platform, Angela, there's us on this call, there's so many options in terms of how to develop those new leaders. For a variety of budgets, I don't think you can blame a budget anymore, because there's so many different ways that you can give them support. So, don't drop the training, don't drop the development time, because that's even more important as they go into this sort of new role. And I think, having regular checkups, so rather than just, oh yeah, they're fine and the team's fine, making sure that communication still goes on, not necessarily in appraisals or in a formal setting. Obviously, we know that's important too, and it has its place. But, I've got clients who go for a walk, or they'll go out for a coffee catch up, or, they'll do a Zoom, every couple of weeks because they're both working at home that day. Whatever works for you and for them, but just having those regular catch-ups. And again, nothing heavy, I don't think. Sometimes it's just to look, how's the week been? What's going on? And giving them that opportunity to talk to you, maybe have a vent, maybe get some suggestions. But I think knowing that they can do that is really important. And also tailoring your leadership style. And I see this quite often. Suddenly you've got 2 or 3 new team leaders or managers, and they're being treated the same. And actually it works maybe for 1 or 2, but there's another person that actually really starts to resent this, because it doesn't match with their personality, what they are like as a leader or a growing leader. So actually looking at what motivates that person. And ultimately, I think it's about knowing your people really well, isn't it? And treating them as individuals. So, okay, well, this person actually does like to be left to it, but they do like a little WhatsApp check-in on a Monday, and we do have our coffee runs, and we do a walk and talk, right? And that's what they like. This person likes an appraisal, they love a form, they want to go through the figures, they want to process, and that works for them. And I think it's being clear about, and actually making it quite obvious that you are fine with that. You can treat them in the way they wanted to be treated. And then the last thing I was thinking about was actually 2 things. When you can see things are starting to go wrong, that whole dysfunctions of a team is happening, being prepared to step in and help with that, so the lack of trust. I never know how to say his name, Lencioni, don't know. But, all of those 5 key points, if you can see those things brewing, then again, step in, help with that. And knowing what that person's strengths and weaknesses are and supporting them. And I think that the only other thing I was going to add on this was just ask them, just ask them, how would you like me to support you? This is great. You're going into this position, the team's growing, whatever it is. How can I best support you? Because they'll tell you.
And to keep asking that question, like you're saying, those coffee sessions and the ones that are a little less formal, because people need to be treated differently. This is where I struggled as a manager to start with. I thought being fair meant treating everyone the same, but actually I quickly learned, no, they've all got to be treated differently, and that's fair because they're all different people, human beings. So what I love, I became an SL2 trainer. I don't know if you've heard of that. It's the Ken Blanchard, it's the updated version of the old situational leadership. So yes, you take the person into account, but you take the task into account. That's the key thing, because you can leave them on that one. They're brilliant at that. They know what they're doing. They've been doing it for years. They're an expert. leave them alone. But this one is new. You're giving them something different to do, and they've never done it before. So why would you leave them for that? So those type of conversations can make a huge difference. And it's all about, like I say, asking them. And that's the key. You say to them, okay, where are you with this? And the language is just numbers and letters, so it takes all the emotion out of it as well, which really helps. People don't have to say, they could say I'm a D2, which means a lot of things and tells you a lot, but they don't have to voice it. So I love it. I think it works brilliantly in recruitment because it makes such a difference to the conversations that you have, and it shortens everything straight down, which we need as well, don't we? There's never enough time. Grainne, what do you want to add to that?
I was just going to say, make sure that they know that they are the leaders. A lot of young team leaders, new team leaders feel that their staff can go behind their back and go to the big boss and have the ear of the big boss. And I think it's very important for us to support new leaders saying, well, you're the team leader. You can come to me. You're the person that's responsible, in charge. Yeah. And the other thing I'd just add is, if you can do looking at them factually and praising them. So I saw yesterday you said X to Y, a couple of things a week of actually factual, objective viewing them, saying, I thought that was fantastic the way you said that to Mary. I really thought that was good. And also just at the final thing is, I'd say, thank them. It's part of the team. I'm thrilled you're promoted to leader. Thank you for doing such a great job, because they're your people. Just those three quick things I thought I'd mention.
That it's a little thing, isn't it? But a bit of praise that's heartfelt. I did used to have a manager that would praise me every day and always say something. And sometimes it just became a bit repetitive and it lost its power because it didn't have the specifics with it. It was just, oh, you did a great job today. Well done. The rest of it. You've got to have the specific. What was it that I did great? Then now I believe you.
The thing you saw, the thing that you actually saw, thought that was great. And as I say, thanks goes a long way. Appreciation goes a long way.
Yeah, no, I think we'd all agree with that one, wouldn't we? Wonderful. Right, let's kick off with question 5. Helen, you're coming back on. So this is, I've been getting this probably for about the last 2 years. Maybe not once a week, but not far off. It's still the same. I want to start my own recruitment agency. What are the top 3 things I need to be aware of? Oof.
First of all, congratulations if you're thinking about doing that and taking the leap. It's that's the first kind of decision, first step. If you're female, I'm just going to big up the females because we're all female team here today. Even bigger congratulations, because only 20% of recruitment businesses are started by women, so we need more women to take the leap. But yes, there is a lot to think about, and it's difficult to hone it to 3 things, but I have tried my best, having been there a couple of times myself. So getting serious about it, it is number 1 is having a solid financial management plan. Really getting into the detail on your startup costs and cash flow. If you haven't kind of embraced this area before, if it's really new to you, there's lots of help out there to help get you started. Even a sort of local accountant could help you just put that together and figure that out, because if you've got a plan, then that's going to lead to the success in the first 6 months to a year. And it's important to have a 6-month safety net. So whether you get that from personal savings, private loan from family members, or you do a sort of part-time job. When I first started my first recruitment business, I actually was doing a bit of work for my husband's business, so that kind of tided me over and sort of stripped back the costs initially. So that just gives you security. And if you get to month 4 and you haven't billed yet, or your client hasn't paid and you have billed, if you've got the plan in place, then there's going to be less stress, because the last place you want to be is having that kind of stress, and that means you're not going to turn up in the same way when you're growing your business. So it is about sort of security of mindset as well. I have been there, and financial stress is probably the worst things that you can face in running a business. Number 2 is business plan. Don't skip on this. A lot of people roll their eyes and think, oh God, I've got to do a business plan. That seems like a lot of work. but it's so important, even if you're you know, you're going to be a solopreneur, do it for yourself. So, you know, thinking about your vision, your niche, you know, your client and candidate personas, the sort of strategic business development plan, marketing plan, SWOT analysis. So you're looking at your competitors as well. You know, are you in the right place, the right time, right sort of clients? Having some analysis over that. You know, what are other people doing? And then perhaps a hiring plan if you are going to go on that sort of hiring journey sort of fairly early on. It also, you know, it also brings your business to life as well. You know, it brings it to life, and it really kind of starts to formulate. It's kind of, I did it as I've just started a new business in November, and it kind of gives you that added confidence, and it gives that sort of really paints that picture for you, and gets it solid in your mind of what you're actually going to do. And then lastly, I mean, I'll say lastly, there's so many things to think about, but if you're thinking of launching your own recruitment business, have a look in the mirror and just figure out whether you are a strong business development person. I believe you should be quite a strong sales business development person yourself in order to be successful, not only as a solopreneur, but to hire as well. So have a real honest chat with yourself about how much business you've actually brought on yourself, even if you were employed or you've been employed. You know, is it 60% or more? Then great. You know, you've got some really good foundations there. So yeah, and I guess I would add a fourth one, and the fourth one is, you know, just getting do you have the right mindset to start your own business? Are you in the right place in your personal life and where you are? Because you're going to need your grit and determination to do this, and there's going to be days where you feel like just packing it in and going to get a job somewhere. I'm just going to get employed again. I've just had enough of this. So you will have that in the first 6 months to a year. So you're going to have that support network and the mindset that you're going to have to be able to reset yourself on a regular basis.
Yeah, we've all been in that position, haven't we? Where it's just like, surely this would be easier if I just worked for someone else. But that you have to just bring yourself back. So why did I start it in the first place? What was the reasoning behind it? But be prepared for those. Ali, what would you like to ask? Add?
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you on those, Helen. And I know my brief time actually in COVID, I was doing coaching with people that had decided to go out on their own. Most of whom still are, actually, I hasten to add, one or two that aren't. And I think you're right. I think it's about really thinking about the hard times, you know, and how, just as you do as a recruiter when you're an employee, you know, what do I do to get myself out of it, like you were saying, Angela? And, you know, are those things going to work for me when I'm sat in the lounge, you know, on my laptop? You know, the kids are going to be home in half an hour. You know, I've only done the 2 things on my list of 20, you know, and I think it's really getting honest, isn't it, about how bloody hard it is, you know, and you know, we know there's moments of elation, and we also know when there's moments of, right, I'm just going to work in Tesco's. So, you know, how are you gonna which again we all have, you know, so how are you going to get yourself out of those? And as you say, what kind of techniques have you maybe got in your toolkit that's going to help, because there is stuff there, isn't there, but you need to be able to tap into that, I think, quite quickly, because it can be so up and down, can't it?
That's a whole different webinar, I think.
Yeah, we can carry on with that, can we?
We have been asked those questions before, and certainly I saw Andy saying hello over on LinkedIn. Hi, Andy, done from Team. This is where a network can really help you, isn't it? When you're a solopreneur, if you're starting yourself, so whether it's an organised one like Team or Upsco or REC or any of the ones that you've joined, that you've got that network around you, or whether you create that. So that's what I've done with the recruiting gym. There's 12 of us trainers. We've all got our own companies as associates. But we do have team meetings. We all get together. We all chat every day and support each other. And there's always someone that needs let's help you out and let's do this. And that that is just gold dust. So if you are thinking of setting up on your own, I think that would be one of mine as well. Think about the people who are going to support you through the tough times, because those are the people that you definitely want to make sure that relationship is there. But what an exciting time. I remember, I think it's 21 years ago that I set up my company. And my first thing was always make sure you've got at least 6 months money. Be prepared that you might not make any money in the 6 months, and then everything's a bonus when you do. But a lot of people don't think of that. Like you say, in the financials, it's so important to have that set up and that support for you, because it will take a little while to do it. And just because you were a great recruiter doesn't mean you're great at running a business. And people don't always see that, do they? So get some help, get some support, get the good, right people behind you. Love that. Right. Okay. So that means that we've got Grainne for our last question. Oh, look at that. We've got 5 minutes left. You guys are perfect. I tell you, it hasn't been this good recently. So Grainne, your last question then. I don't have time to spend with newer staff to develop them. Oh, I really felt for this person when they shared this, because they said, I'm feeling guilty. I've brought them on board. I haven't got time to spend with them. So what can I do?
Well, it's a bit like back to what we were saying before. You have to have a system, you have to have structure. You're taking them on board, so you're making a decision that you need them for the business. So you need to be able to delegate to them in a way that's consistent with why you brought them on in the first place. You also have a duty of care to someone that you employ. So the better to do it is by doing it. Don't think it's an extra thing you have to do. It needs to be built in. This is my job. My job. There's nobody wants anybody to feel guilty. It's a wasted emotion. And if you feel guilty about people, you just make those people feel a little bit worse about themselves, because they feel you're guilty because they haven't helped you and that you need the help. So you need to enable your belief in them and checking in with them at regular times. It doesn't take a long time, but it does take thought. So give them a task. Let's check back at 12:30. Give them a task. Let's check back at 4:30. See how you're getting on with it. So it's really about putting yourself in there with the structure and proper delegation. I'm going to show you. I want you to watch me do this. I'm going to train you. I want you to come back with your own training gap so that I can help you. And you need to always think to yourself, is it that the person that you need to help, is it they won't do something, or is it they can't do something? And if they can't do something, you can help and you can put a structure on it. It doesn't mean that you have to take hours out of your day. It's often taking the thought process and then implementing it. And if they won't do something, then you really need to look at your management style. Why won't they do it? Is your communication style in conflict with theirs? But if they won't do it, you've got a real problem. If they can't do it, you've got a real opportunity. But feeling guilty isn't a solution for either them or for you. You need to and when you do with one person, you need to have a structure for following through. So I know the first week, this is what I want them to do. I know the second week, this is what I want them to do. I know the third week, I want them to spend time with Lorna on writing an ad or whatever it is. But you have to have a structure for your own onboarding. And then ideally, people like Recruiting Jim or any of us can come in and onboard your new recruits, and that'll take all the guilt away.
Well, yes, if you've got the budget, then you can get the support from elsewhere, can't you? But there is still so much that you could, if you planned and structured it. We know there's so much out there that if you were able to take the time before you hired them to get your plan in and identify all of those fabulous sessions, webinars, details, all the things that we've done like 2,000 since COVID. So there's a lot there that people can generate and go through, or you just buy a structured course that takes them through it all and does it, and you can just support that. So we know that it's there. Don't leave it to chance. Ali, what would you say?
Yeah, I think the best sort of employers I've worked with as clients do exactly that. They're really planned. They've got, several weeks worth of stuff, that they do with people. Each day has clear time, but it also is very clear. Morning session, you're going to sit with so-and-so, afternoon session, you're going to go on a meeting with so-and-so. And it's really well thought out, as you've both said. It's not just oh crap, we've got a new starter tomorrow, be prepared, really think about it, because that is your best way actually to impress that person and start to, develop those feelings of loyalty and enjoyment, and they really care, and they want to do a good job. So it's so important, I think, as well, from that motivational piece as well, because you're really showing them you want them to do well, and then they will. It follows, doesn't it? If it's all planned and organised, they absolutely will do well. So why wouldn't you?
Well,
it's just really important they feel valued. I think once they feel valued, and they feel part of the team, and they can give them wings to fly themselves. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. But you need the structure, and you need to care, and remember why you hired them in the first place. Yeah.
Well, that's what I was thinking. Going back to, you've done a speculate to accumulate. You've hired someone on board. So you need to make sure that you have a great onboarding with them. And for me, it's give them that structure, give them their plan, what you're going to cover as part of the interview process. Because again, that can win people over. If they've got choice, and candidates still have choice at the moment, then they're in a situation where they can see, well, look, this is all planned out for me. And it's not about the individual doing it. It's about getting other people involved. Now, if you are on your own, again, it's the external stuff that's out there and that network around you, get them involved. But if you have got a team, brilliant. And even if they're all quite new, they can all support each other. They can have the discussions around what they're missing, that training gap that you mentioned earlier, Grainne. Well, they can work that out and come back to you and help each other and then set it. So yeah, there's lots of ways to tackle this. Don't sit there feeling guilty. Get on board. Ask people like ourselves, and we'd definitely be able to put you in the right direction to get all of that organised. Okay, that's our time up. It's gone already. We get to go back in the green room and chat about it all. But thank you so much to my guests, Ali Braid, Helen Plumridge and Grainne Martin today. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time with a Job Adder special, part of their sponsorship, one of the sessions in the year. They get to take over. So I'm looking forward to seeing what that's going to be all about in 2 weeks' time. So we'll see you then. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.